The breaking news about the failed terror attack has us all asking, is our nation getting stronger or weaker? Just a few hours ago, House Minority Whip Cantor gave a speech at the Heritage Foundation, and he is pulling no punches. In his speech, Congressman Cantor calls President Obama's foreign policy naive. Why? Congressman Cantor on the record. Congressman, nice to see you, sir.
Good to be with you, Greta.
All right, Congressman, I read your speech that you gave this morning, and reading speeches, I admit, is a lot different than actually hearing it being delivered. But what I took away from it is that you're saying that the Obama administration is weak on national security and making us weak. Wrong or right?
I'm concerned about the direction of our national security strategy. And the point of my speech was really that American success in foreign policy and our strength comes from the notion that we do promote peace through strength, and secondly, that we stand by our allies and we treat friends as friends and enemies as enemies. And if we get the latter confused, we're going to have less friends. But
I take it that you wouldn't have given the speech if you thought we were standing by our friends, by our allies, and if we did have peace through strength. I don't have the sense that you would have just spontaneously given the speech, but somebody provoked it.
Well, there's clearly a question. If you look at the level of defense spending, the core function of the Pentagon, and the descent of that in terms of percentage of GDP, if you look at the commitment that this administration has, or lack thereof, for missile defense systems, which I think is the ultimate deterrence for the forces of evil that are going against what we as America stands for. And frankly, I'm concerned about this administration's penchant for going out to the world and apologizing for America. We've done nothing wrong. We should stand by our allies in the defense of freedom.
All right, you talk about that apology, and you mentioned the speech in Cairo, which coincidentally we were actually there in person watching it. How do you see that as the apology speech? What was it about it to you?
Well, what the President said in that speech was that he hoped to return to the days when we had a partnership with the Muslim world, that America 20 to 30 years ago enjoyed some type of good relationship that now has gone awry. I don't see it that way. I don't see that somehow we need to apologize for anything that America has done. Are we a perfect nation? By no means. Are we better than any else because of the exceptional nature of who we are? Yes. We don't go out seeking territory. We don't go out seeking to conquer people. We're about freedom. We're about human progress, human rights. That's what America has given to the world, and I, for the life of me, don't understand how this administration can apologize for that, can treat our allies to pick bogus fights with countries like Israel, when we know that that country stands with us.
It's interesting to give the speech today. We're in the midst of this terrorism investigation, and it appears, and I realize it's an ongoing investigation, but that Pakistan is being very cooperative and actually making some arrests. Is that a sign that at least some of the president's policies are working, that at least we're engaging a country that while an ally of ours, doesn't always like us?
There's no question that we all owe a debt of gratitude to law enforcement officials, administration, civilians that were involved surrounding this failed terrorist attack in Times Square. It is a difficult job that our law enforcement, public safety officials have. And if you think about it, Greta, terrorists can get it right one time. We've got to get it right 100% of the time. And that's the equation, and that's why we really need to have the vigilance that I talked about earlier today. And somehow it seems that the White House, others perhaps in this town, can focus on terrorism and the threat as long as perhaps you and your colleagues in the media want to cover it, and then return to some type of other priority. Obviously, we have a lot of priorities, but first and foremost should be our national security, as well as then allow this country to return to its economic leadership that we're having so much difficulty with.
A topic that is everyone dances around and no one really likes to get down and dirty with is political correctness. You mention it today, and you say that we can't be politically correct. How do you see the administration being politically correct, and where is that a danger?
Well, the administration, the president himself they've indicated that we don't want to use the words terrorism or war on terror. We don't somehow want to use the words radical Islam. I mean, let's face it, the United States and our allies who stand for freedom are in an ideological struggle against the spread of radical Islam. Terrorists operate with the support of countries that believe in a radical ideology that is antithetical to our own. And that's just the way it is. And I believe that somehow the political correctness can take over, which we have seen in the words of this administration, that somehow will cause us to miss the point here, which is to try and do everything we can to keep Americans safe.
We sure got lucky on Christmas Day, and we got lucky Saturday night in Times Square, which is a relief to all of us, but it certainly is a wake-up call that we need to be very vigilant.
There's no question. There were a lot of critics who said that perhaps the federal government didn't do its job in connecting the dots prior to 9/11. I'm fearful that we are doing the same, repeating the same mistakes now, and that's why the call for renewed vigilance and focus on the fact that we do have a very real threat out there with these terrorist organizations and their state sponsors.
Are we getting stronger or weaker?
I'm worried. Obviously, I wouldn't have given the speech today that I gave if I were not concerned that the current trend line would indicate that we would get weaker. That's why it is imperative that we reinstill our commitment our commitment to make sure that we are strong. We have to demonstrate that through our policies in missile defense. We have to demonstrate that through the renewed commitment of the core defense operations at the Pentagon. We have to make sure that our intelligence officials and law enforcement have the tools that they need. And we need to set political correctness aside in the pursuit of that end.
What do you think President Obama would say if you told him that, if he were standing here and I was not the one standing here? What would he say, that you're just flat out wrong?
No, I think that, in the president, in limited way as I do, I think he would probably say that, you know what, we all want peace. Eric, the way that the prior administration conducted itself didn't work, so we're going to try another way. And that seems to be a response that echoes not only in this arena, but certainly in the domestic arena, as the policies that this administration is pushing somehow are deemed correct, accurate, or valid just because they're different than what the prior administrations were. It's just not that black and white. There was certainly a lot good that was done. Our nation did not incur a terrorist attack while the Bush administration was in office post 9/11. We should learn from some of those experiences and remember the lessons that we were taught.
Congressman, thank you, sir.
Thank you.